In December of 2024, the African Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, is expected to withdraw all its forces from Somalia. This comes at a time when the funding for the mission has been on a downward trend since the force went into Somalia 17 years ago to combat the terror group al-shabaab.
Al-shabaab! Al-shabaab! Terrorist! Terrorist! Al-Qaeda! Al-Qaeda!
A terror group that came into prominence in 2006 during the Somali civil war has been on a relentless pursuit to dethrone the Somali federal government and establish an Islamic state.
waxa aan higsanayna weeyaa inaan insha Allah ta'ala aan Soomaaliya inaan qabsano waan higsanayna insha Allah ta'ala.
In November of 2023, Somali's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud attended a conference at the Royal United Services Institute in London, UK, a defense and security think tank, to talk about the incredible strides that its government and its security partners have made to degrade the al-shabaab. The president underscored that the country has a year to fully eliminate the militants before the full withdrawal of the African Union troops. But he also stated that there was a need from the international community to help Somalia in its military efforts after the full withdrawal. And this begs a question. Will the Somali security forces be able to contain the insurgents on their own once the ATMIS force fully withdraws? Or will we have a replay of a scenario similar to that of Afghanistan? Al-Shabaab coming back to prominence, eroding the 17 years effort put up by the ATMIS troops. In 1991, Somalia plunged into a civil war that came up as a result of the ousting of its former dictator, Mohamed Siad Barre. The major clans that contributed in ousting Barre started fighting one another in a bid to occupy the power vacuum that was left. In the absence of a federal government, Somalia became a failed state. This precipitated the arrival of UNOSOM 1 and 2 missions, which were a United Nations-sponsored efforts to provide humanitarian relief in Somalia. Following the hostility shown towards the UN forces, the United Nations withdrew from Somalia in 1995. By the mid-2000s, there was some return to religious law in most regions of the country. This was made possible by a legal and political organization called the ICU, the Islamic Courts Union, which was founded by Mogadishu-based Sharia courts during the early 2000s to combat the lawlessness stemming from the Somali civil war. By mid to late 2006, the Islamic Courts Union had expanded their influence to become the de facto government of most of southern Somalia. Although the ICU was the governing body in the country, it wasn't internationally recognized. The body that was recognized as the central government of Somalia was the TFG, the Transitional Federal Government of Somalia, that was formerly known as the TNG, that consisted of the warring factions of Somalia that came together in a bid to end the civil war. After being formed in Kenya in 2004, the TFG relocated to Somalia in an effort to establish its government. With the help of the Ethiopian Defense Forces backed by the United States, a massive Ethiopian invasion into Somalia underwent in 2006 with the aim of disposing the Islamic Courts Union. By December of 2006, the Ethiopian Defense Forces managed to take over Mogadishu after disintegrating the ICU and helped establish the TFG. The dissolution of the ICU led to some of its members joining the TFG, while other members decided to create opposing forces to fight against the Ethiopian invasion. One such force was the al-shabaab. Infuriated by the Ethiopian invasion and numerous atrocities carried out on civilian population by the Ethiopian soldiers, al-shabaab used this as a crying call to all Somali Muslims to join the group in an effort to declare jihad on the TFG and the Ethiopian soldiers. Al-Shabaab became the most popular Islamist insurgent group in the country, thus enabling it to recruit and radicalize the Somalia population. Facing countless resistance from the al-Shabaab and other Islamic militants, the Ethiopian force exited Somalia in 2009, enabling the insurgents to take over control of vast parts of the country, including the capital Mogadishu.
Ethiopian troops pulling out of the capital Mogadishu after 2 years. They've tried to back the country's fragile government in its war against insurgents, but they were hated by many Somalis who accused them of illegally occupying the country.
This left the transitional federal government of Somalia close to collapsing, whereby prompting the international community to once again intervene. Before the withdrawal of the Ethiopian forces in 2009, a regional peacekeeping mission was established by the African Union with the approval of the United Nations Security Council to help the Somalia government to contain the insurgents. The African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM, which consisted of contributing troops from Burundi, Djibouti, Uganda, Kenya and Ethiopia later on, was given a mandate to eliminate the Islamic militants and create a secure environment for the delivery of humanitarian aid. It's now in 2010, the beginning of a new decade. In financial support by the European Union, AMISOM together with the Somali Defense Forces began offensives in an aim to take over the capital Mogadishu. The bloody Battle of Mogadishu lasted for 2 years, resulting it into falling under the hands of the AMISOM forces, forcing the al-shabaab to retreat to the south. The first years of the AMISOM presence in Somalia were very successful in taking control of major strategic regions cherished by al-shabaab. A good example was in 2012 when the Kenya Defense Forces took over the strategic port city of Kismayo that drastically reduced the revenue stream of the al-shabaab that was channeled through taxation. Despite the loss of important territories, the al-shabaab still held control of vast parts of the country, mainly the rural areas of southern Somalia. This enabled them to regroup and carry out guerrilla offensives towards the AU and Somali forces, mainly through the use of IEDs and suicide bombings that has been a major cause of death towards the troops and the civilian population. Such tactics have been very detrimental towards the support for the group by the Somali population. The violence that has been carried out by al-shabaab has not only been felt inside Somalia, but also in neighboring Kenya and Uganda. Since 2010, over 380 people have died as a result of the violence carried out by al-shabaab in Uganda and Kenya. This has been done in order to send a message to Kenya and Uganda to withdraw its troops so as to stop any further bloodshed. And this kind of PR has enabled the group to increase in size over the years and attracting financial support from individuals who support their ideologies. In March of 2024, the US Department of the Treasury designated the Dubai-based Harer Commodities Limited Liability Company as a key financial facilitator for the al-shabaab, together with Kaimat Al-Naja General Trading and Kenyan-based Crown Bus Services that have supported al-shabaab's logistical operations. Several names were also mentioned as financial facilitators for the group. It is reported that through the financing that they get from their affiliates, combined with the extortion of Somali businesses, al-shabaab generates over $100 million per annum. With such kind of money, the group is able to buy and smuggle weapons into the country and take advantage when the country is hit by floods or drought by helping the Somali citizens in a bid to buy their loyalty towards the group. And this is what has enabled the group to survive for this long. In 2022, AMISOM was renamed to ATMIS, the African Transition Mission in Somalia, which is an active African Union transition and drawdown mission from peacekeeping operations in Somalia. The plan for the drawdown of the peacekeeping forces is to ensure that the Somali security forces are well trained and well military equipped so as to ensure that they will be able to contain the al-shabaab after the full withdrawal of ATMIS in December of 2024. This is being done in support by the United States and other European nations. The exit of ATMIS is coming at a time where the funding for the mission by the European Union, the biggest sponsor, has been reducing year by year since the force went into Somalia. The drawdown of the ATMIS troops that started in April of 2022 has seen an increase of attacks by al-shabaab, thus fearing a resurgency of the group. In a bid to contain the group, the Somalia government together with clan militias have been on the constant offensive towards the al-shabaab since 2022 in an effort to degrade the group and take over lost territory. By the 31st of December 2024, all ATMIS forces will be out of Somalia. The drawdown has been gradual. This is being done in order to slowly hand over the security responsibility of the country to its security organs. This will be a major test to determine the security capability of the Somali Defense Forces. On the other hand, the al-shabaab is playing a waiting game. It's just a matter of time to see what will transpire.